Join Jackie and Danielle, two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees who are rewatching some of their favorite movies from the late 90s and early 2000s on the No More Late Fees podcast. And remember, be kind and rewind.
We are the next Oprahs in a way.
In a way.
In a way.
This is another time capsule of what it was like to be a kid without a cell phone.
Mm-hmm. The whole thing is a hot mess express. Anyway, when we're talking about gay men, this episode is just craziness.
I love this episode.
I haven't watched this since like back in the day, and I'm like, so good.
Hi, I'm Dustin, and on the Rewatch Recap, friends and I will revisit a favorite television series from years past and break down a season episode by episode and see if it hits the same the second time around. You'll get nostalgia, you'll get trivia, and maybe a few laughs along the way. Watch along with us and listen to the Rewatch Recap every Monday where most audio podcasts are played.
Well, I know we've been friends on Facebook for years with radio and everything, so it's nice to finally actually meet you.
Yeah, it's a strange thing because like there's the Facebook friends that you actually meet in person, and then there's you and I where it's just simply been Facebook and that's it. So if I remember correctly, I interviewed for the same job that you got in Iowa, which I think was your first full-time radio gig, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right. So I think by either some suggested friends recommendation thing, that's how we got to know each other on Facebook. And of course you did a fantastic job doing that gig in Iowa. And then from then on, that's when you moved to your most recent gig in Fredericksburg, Virginia, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And that's where you're based.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. And then this is my fiance, Brandon, my co-host.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Brandon. Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing good. Busy, stressed out. People are like, oh, how's the podcast? We love the podcast. Y'all should do this. Y'all should do that and stuff. So I'm still getting used to this whole radio thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on half the time, but I just show up, throw the just that guy in the room, like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, and you know what? That's like part of the magic of doing this kind of work. You know this, Tiffany. I mean, if you're open-minded and you kind of go with the flow, and if you have just a natural, authentic personality, then it's gonna usually work well for you.
Yeah. And that's what's worked well for us, like our conversations and everything we've had. It's kind of what led us to wanting to do this. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, just take me to the journey towards this podcast. And then we'll, get into some other stuff later on. But yeah, I just want to, for the listeners and viewers of this podcast who don't know, like, how did you get here?
Yeah. You want to take it or you want me to?
You can start it.
Okay. So our podcast is called B&T Unscripted. And it was actually something we thought about like when we first started dating. Our first date was about 2 hours long of just us talking. Like we ordered food and didn't eat, So it was one of those like, this is really cool. We can talk about anything. And ever since that point, we've always had like full-on conversations that in the back of my mind, I was like, you could hear this in a podcast. This would be something that someone's listening to, like a conversation. So we had toyed with the idea for about 2 years, or a little less than, about 2 years now. And it was just, timing was off, right? Like he was working a full-time government secret squirrel position. So it's like, well, we probably should have put your voice out there at this moment in time. And then with radio, I'm sure that you can attest to it. At some point, like when you're doing so much audio work, you get burned out. And I felt like at the time I couldn't give 100% to a podcast because I would want to, being on air so much and, in the audio world so much. I felt like creatively wise, I wasn't there. I wanted to do it, but I was too burned out from it.
Yeah.
And then with our recent happenings, me losing my job and all of that going on, it actually presented like a blessing in disguise, like a perfect opportunity for us to have the time to sit down and talk about it. And that's kind of where Brandon came in, because he was the one who really pushed to have this podcast during this time.
Yep. The keep her like building up on like her radio skills, right? To try something different, go out of the realm of the country star whatever stuff, to be more diverse in her radio, I guess, portfolio or resume. You can be like, oh, I can talk about this instead of just like, oh, Lainey Wilson is hanging out with Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be cool in the conversations that we have. It's like real conversations that everyone can relate to. I believe so. I just wanted to record them, and and the people wanted you to as well, to tell the first side of the story of the unfortunate events that happened. So
yeah, and I think that's what led us to our first episode. Like, we had a different idea in mind for the first one, like months ago before we started it. And then after that whole situation with my job happened, I never got to say goodbye to my listeners. I was cut that day and walked out of the building. Like, that's how it ended. And so for me, I didn't get to say goodbye, and they didn't get to say goodbye to me. So this was like, people kept asking, like, we want to follow you, we want to talk with you, we want to hear how you and Brandon are doing, the wedding updates, like all this stuff they were invested in. And we both talked about it, and we felt like they deserved something. So the first episode of this podcast was for our listeners, or for my listeners, just to say thank you, to say thanks for the support, thanks for following along. Here's an update. Here's my side of things, without pointing fingers. Like, it was just more of, rather than say, here's what went down, it was, here's my human experience of losing a job in the middle of just getting a house and going through a wedding process. It's a lot. And so for me, it wasn't like pointing fingers or anything. It was, I can relate to anybody out there who's going through this, because people wanted to know how I was. And so I was like, well, I'm going to be honest. The first 2 weeks sucked. Like,
oh yeah,
it was crying all the time.
I bet. God.
So that's kind of where it led to.
Right. Yeah. So you and I, we're both not in radio anymore, but for different reasons. My journey was like, started in Connecticut and then went to Iowa for my first full-time radio gig, and then found my way to Vermont for the next gig, and then did some time in upstate New York, and then found my way back to Vermont. And then it got to a point where, I don't know, after 8 years of doing commercial radio, it just wasn't giving me the creative sort of expression that I was looking for, the freedom that I was looking for. So I decided to take that leap, and I am fortunate enough to say that I haven't been laid off. Any job I've left on my own terms. But what I can relate to you on is just having that comfort zone, that joy of that regular paycheck and that regular relationship with the listeners every day, and then just that's gone. And what do you do, and how do you get your life back together? And I currently do full-time DoorDash delivery, and it's great for the schedule flexibility. The hours can be a lot, but I definitely make more than I make with radio, so that's wonderful.
Hey, radio's the poor college student salary, that's what we always say.
Oh yeah, right? It's not exactly the wealthy thing, but if you can pay your bills, if you can try to make ends meet, then it's still worth it for anybody listening who might want to get into the industry. But
exactly.
So I'm certainly, fascinated to hear about that rough transition for you. And I know, Tiffany, you are, you were in the country radio world. I was more in the sort of pop AC kind of world. So for the country radio world, I think, Brandon, you had sort of spoke about this. What about that world is different than what you do now with your podcast in terms of, the kind of personality and the kinds of things that you talk about?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. I think the difference is with the country radio world, you're really focused on the music and the artists and the news about the country artists, right? And what you can do for the fans, because country radio fans are so loyal and family-based and community-based, they're going to follow you anywhere. Yeah. And I truly believe that out of every other genre, they are the most loyal fans you'll have. And so the difference, what we're doing now is we're not focused on, country music. We're not focused on the artist or their news. We're focused on our lives. And not only that, but the lives of our listeners. Like, we actually more are focused on those, because going forward, I mean, the first episode is out now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. That really describes the transition that we went through. and how we came up with this idea to do this. And like I said, the human experience of losing your job. But going forward, the main theme of the podcast is to be very lifestyle based, to be very much on, everyday things that we would talk about, making that into our conversations. So yeah, maybe sometimes country stuff comes in there because we love country music and we love concerts and all of that. But a lot of it is about every single day things. And like for us, a lot of people ask like wedding updates. Like we're going to be talking about like the different opinions between a guy versus a girl.
Yeah.
And how he sees it versus I do, like here's the color shade of red, but there's multiple colors and,
I'm like, what's this? I don't know what's going on.
Oh my gosh. Like I swear we're talking about like red roses and there's like a forever red and a sexy red. I was like, which one do you want? He's like,
I was like, oh no. I was like, there's just a basic plain old red 101.
Yeah. I'm totally with you, Brandon. My wife and I got married last year, and I went from like this sort of defiant, like, no, like you and I are going to have both equal input on everything about this wedding. And then once she gave me all the details about, like you said, the color schemes and, what the fabric is going to be on this and that, like I quickly just went, I don't know. You do whatever you want to do.
I'm slowly transitioning to that stage in the whole marriage level.
Yeah.
Right. It's like they started talking about twinkling lights. They talking about all these things. I don't even know what that means. Then, then I was like, all right, Tiff, you got it. You got it, dude. Like, hey, I'll take care of the groomsmen. And that's it,
Yeah. Hey, babe, what do you think about water bottles with people's initials on them? I'm like, sure, why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
All I know is that it's going to cost a lot of money and that you care more about this than I do. So let me just give in and let you have your day.
Yeah.
And that's the typical guy response.
Yeah.
But that's exactly like the example of the different things you're going to hear on this podcast. It's between that. It's between sometimes religious talk, sometimes family talk,
philosophy,
relationships.
What things can as couples do better. Like, okay, like we've had this issue. Like, what did y'all do to, fix that problem or try to get better with each other, try to understand each other better? I'm going to school for psychology, so that's like my realm of things, So I would love just to have those everyday talks because maybe that issue or question that we have is the same question that Joe down the street and his wife has. Maybe whatever we're talking about might help them transition through a problem or work through a problem that, it could save their marriage, stuff like that.
And we're both we're both huge mental health advocates too. So having those conversations, and also having everyday people on for interviews, finding out what their remarkable story is. Because everyone has one. It's something we've learned along our way of just talking and meeting each other. Everyone has a remarkable story. You just don't think it's remarkable.
Yeah.
So we want to definitely talk to just everybody that we can, have them on and talk about their story. So I think going back to that question, the difference is that this one is more life-based. It's not just selling the music, selling the artist, giving a little funny here and there within a 2-minute break. It's actually having deeper conversations.
Now, seeing that some of the best podcasts out there do well with authenticity and being vulnerable, is there a subject matter that you guys are just kind of like dreading or that you think could come up that could make you very uncomfortable, but you also think maybe like it's good to lean into that discomfort, going back to the whole mental health thing that we've learned in therapy so much? Like, is there anything that you sense like, oh crap, we might have to like, dive into this topic real soon on our podcast?
What do you think?
I don't know. I think we're pretty good at communicating like through having those hard conversations.
Yeah.
And I think it's with what I learned going through psychology for school, it's like you have to have those tough conversations, and being uncomfortable is, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? That common saying, right? And that's the only way I believe we can make progress, as people or society, whatever you want to say, so, but
I honestly think we're pretty open people with most of our conversations in our lives, especially when I was on air. I mean, people were there from day one of my first date with him. Like they were hearing on air how like I was so nervous I didn't want to go. And then the next day I'm like, oh, it was great. Like they knew him as like Hinge guy for a little while before he became name. So they've been with us this whole way, and they've been with us through a lot. I mean, we still have our boundary. We still have our line to keep some stuff private. I'll be honest, I don't think we'll ever talk about like intimacy topics really.
Like the
Good.
Like sex.
Yeah.
We probably would never talk about that. We don't really air a lot of our disagreements because we don't really have any. And I know that like people are like, oh, you have something. Like, yeah, we have a few like here and there.
Yeah.
But it's never been to a point that's lasted longer than maybe a couple hours and then we're done.
Yeah, we're good at talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the key thing, because a lot of couples do hold that grudge if they disagree on something. And my wife and I, having that therapeutic experience, we both come from a place of, okay, we can disagree on something. It may be uncomfortable sometimes to disagree on certain things, but we don't want to be passive aggressive with each other and just pretend like everything's fine when it's not. I mean, our own personal family situations, we've gotten a lot of that toxic behavior, so we've learned to talk it through, even though it may be uncomfortable talking it through, and that's what has helped our relationship for the better. So I love that.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like we're more than willing to talk about mental health and the advocacy behind it. We've both been on our own journey. We've both been in therapy. We both have our own issues, and we've talked about them before. And so we're willing to bring that to the table. So I feel like there's really not much we'll touch. We probably won't touch politics, but there's just no point.
Yeah, sometimes that can be a toxic thing.
It's not worth
It's just like,
Yeah.
there's always two sides.
Yeah.
They don't like each other too much, So
like
we try to stay clear from that. And
Good idea.
I don't want to say the wrong thing. They'll be like, oh, they said this.
Yeah.
Oh, they said that.
Yeah.
They're this. They support this. And I'm like, dude, I want to stay clear from all that craziness.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. All right. Now, this particular podcast, we are very much about 90s pop culture. We for example, we recap the 90s sitcom Family Matters, and then we talk to its cast and crew. And so, I mean, have you watched that show growing up, Tiffany?
Oh, yeah. I watch it all the time with my parents.
Yeah? Any
Yeah,
episodes or moments that stand out to you?
Probably the ones where Steve Urquelle turned into his, like, cousin. Like, what was his name?
Yeah, so cousin Myrtle, we actually watched her debut episode. If you're referring to the Southern Belle cousin that Steve turns into.
That was then the other one. Or maybe it wasn't cousin. It's like a hotter version of him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So Stefan Urquelle.
Yeah. Those are always so much fun to me. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll sit and watch.
That's a favorite for everybody, and especially like the females that we've had on. They've expressed having a crush on Stefan. Some have said that they like Steve more than Stefan because they've been into the sort of nerdy guy growing up rather than the smooth talker that Stefan is. So yeah, Stefan's a popular subject for sure.
I walk around the house sometimes and like I'll do something. I have done this too. I'm like, did I do that? Like I'll literally say that and then like keep going. We start like laughing.
You roll your eyes, Brandon, I'm sure.
I'm like, oh, I just let it be at this point. She starts, I hear it from the other room, and I'm like, I just go back to playing the PlayStation. I'm like, I'll just let her keep doing her thing.
He puts his noise cancellation back on.
Yeah, I'm like,
Well, Brandon, are you into Family Matters or just any other 90s pop culture?
I'm familiar with Family Matters, but I couldn't like pick a certain episode. But is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 90s? That's probably my favorite 90s show. I think if I had to pick one. So that was my favorite. Yeah.
Any particular episodes or favorite characters?
I love Will Smith. It's like he's I looked up to him because it has comedic style. I always thought that was funny. But having Carlton do the Carlton is great. It's just like, the snapping the fingers. It's just so funny, so.
Oh, my God. I mean, just him, like, the one particular Carlton dance moment I remember was when him and Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv, and I think his sister Hillary was with them. They were backstage at the Oprah Winfrey show. Yeah. And the moment that the theme song for Oprah Winfrey plays, Carlton just freaks out, goes into his euphoric Carlton dance. And if you haven't seen the clip, it's the best thing ever. It makes me
have to check that out.
Yeah, it's great. Oh my God, it's.
Don't tell him that. He's gonna start doing the Carlton.
I'm gonna start practicing and get real.
The whole time.
Now it seems very normal to have 90s shows come back in some way through a reboot series or whatever. Is there any particular 90s show or movie that you guys would love to see in like a reboot form or a sequel form?
I have a thing. I have a thing against reboots.
Me too.
I hate them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, leave them alone.
It's hit or miss.
Yeah.
And speaking of, I don't think it's a reboot, but was Beetlejuice 90s or 80s?
So Beetlejuice was 1988, so it could be considered 90s, but
It's like right there.
Yeah, we just went to see the new one yesterday. And
How
like,
was it?
it was good, but it didn't need a reboot, if that makes sense. Like, it was real. I thought it was really cute and good. You weren't a huge fan.
I mean, I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a good nostalgia feel of it. It's just like I was so scared because I like care for the original so much. Yeah, I was like, please do not mess Beetlejuice up. You know, it's like.
But the smart thing they did about that is keeping Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice.
Yeah, he did great. He did great.
Oh, he's wonderful. He's wonderful.
Bring somebody else in to play, reboot it or anything.
Yeah.
So like it was fun, but like in general, reboots and stuff I hate. We both.
It scares me. Just
It does.
It
can be a lot.
Stop bringing it back, man.
So my co-host Andrew is joining us right now.
Oh my y'all. How are you? I'm so sorry I'm late.
Oh, you're fine. Nice to meet you.
meet you.
So we're at the right moment. Y'all are talking about the Beetlejuice remake. Is it worth me going to go see?
I think it is worth it because it's cute and like nostalgia reasons, but don't expect like groundbreaking.
Like groundbreaking story or
Yeah.
like, yeah. But it like if you grew up, I guess, watching the original, you'll love it.
Yeah.
Because like I was sitting there like, oh, I remember this. It made me feel like I was a kid again watching the original was on VHS.
Yeah.
But, you know,
So I've only watched snippets of it like over the years, and I didn't watch the full movie until like the other day with my wife, and it was okay. I mean, you know, I could see it as like a fun Halloween sort of movie to watch.
Yeah.
Definitely love Michael Keaton in that role. Winona Ryder was just that gothic teenager that we all know and love. Catherine O'Hara, I love Catherine O'Hara just forever for anything. Home Alone, Schitt's Creek, she could do anything, and I love her till the end of time. And my wife actually saw it with some friends the other day, the new Beetlejuice movie, and she seemed to like it. But I think what was fascinating to me most of all while watching the original Beetlejuice was just knowing the very next year Michael Keaton was Batman. And if you could like compare Bruce Wayne and Batman with Beetlejuice, it's like you can't see it. Like it just shows
it's
range.
a complete 360 on the character.
That's his like forte, the superheroes and everything. Like as soon as you said Batman, his like ears perked up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we saw actually one of my wife's and I's first dates back during the pandemic when they showed nothing but old movies in the theater. We saw Batman again. It was great.
Oh, that's so cool. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're a fan of Beetlejuice and Batman, or just Beetlejuice, Andrew.
I love Batman. One, Batman is hot. Let's just talk about that. That uniform. I feel like, yes.
Yeah.
Tiffany, I'm with you. Even if he can't turn his head, I'm like, ooh, you are a fine piece of man.
Yeah.
But I have to ask y'all, what is your favorite Batman movie? Mine has to be Batman and Robin.
Okay. I would have to say Dark Knight Rises series.
Ooh.
With Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good one.
It's a good series. But I also like darker things and like very intense
Like
movies, gritty movies. So I think that's why the Dark Knight series really was my favorite.
Had that darker story.
Yeah.
Now, Batman and Robin, are you talking about the one with George Clooney where he's like riding on a surfboard in the sky? Is that Batman movie that you're talking about?
I am talking about that, but I'm talking a little bit more like Mr. Freeze in that series as well, because we had Arnold there.
Yep, Arnold. Yep.
So
was Jim Carrey Mr. Freeze, or was he the Riddler? I think he was the Riddler in that one.
The Riddler.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Cool.
Liking the darker things in Batman, I have to ask, what did y'all think about the Justice League and then the Zack Snyder remake of the Justice League movie?
I did not watch that. Did you watch it?
I think I watched the Snyder cut or whatever. It's definitely the darker feel to it, the darker side of the story. I believe it had Superman as a villain, right? And he just started destroying everything. I was like, whoa, dude, you don't picture Superman because he's like the Pope and stuff like that. Then he just starts lasering stuff, I'm like, Superman, it's like, Henry, why are you doing that?
Yeah. I think that was 4 hours long, that Snyder cut. I think I had to go, I had to sit there twice to get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess when I say darker stuff, like usually he's been like broadening my movie palette or whatever. He's like, you missed all these classics growing up. Because growing up, my family and I, like, when we didn't watch movies very often, but when we did, it was either like horror or Halloween movies or like crime shows. Like, that was it.
Right.
So when I say darker, I'm like sitting there like watching Saw and everything, falling asleep to it. And he's like, what are you doing? You're slightly a psychopath. I'm like, it's my comfort movies. It's okay.
Yeah. How many Saw movies are they up to? I think it's like 10 or something.
Something like that. 9 or 10. If you count Jigsaw, or not Jigsaw, Spiral.
Yeah.
Which isn't really, but it is kind of. I don't really know. So yeah, I don't know. That's like when I say darker, that's usually what I go towards. Superhero is him. I'm like horror everything.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. God, what was the horror? There was a horror movie that I saw the other day that Oh yeah. Andrew and I were talking about the Deliverance, the horror movie. Did you like that movie? Because Andrew didn't like it
on Netflix. Because here's the thing, I was watching the preview of it. I've never actually seen it, and I was like, I feel like I should watch this. And then I was watching, I was like, I feel like it's the same story I've seen over and over. Like, I don't know if I really need to watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen too many Exorcist movies, so for me it was like, okay, but I think my highlight was just seeing Glenn Close as this very old age made up ghetto looking mother of the main character Ebony, and just seeing Glenn Close act in anything is just worth it for me. So, but I think you had like a take that was like very brutal on the movie.
Oh no.
I will tell you this: if you sit down and watch the whole movie, you're watching Glenn Close in drag. Like, it's like funny, it's very campy. It is every trope from an exorcism movie you've ever seen, just done very poorly. If I were to like call it something, it's the Great Value version of The Exorcist. And I knew everything scary I love, and I was not terrified at all.
See, that's what I had that vibe from it. That's why I was like, I don't want to watch this, you know? Now, it's funny because he doesn't watch horror movies, like, with me or anything. He doesn't like you'll watch a few, but he doesn't like anything that has to do with supernatural stuff.
I'm like, nope, I don't want to open a door that accidentally opened. You know, I start making a joke over a spell, then like stuff starts flying and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want this.
Yeah. Understandable. I get that. Now, this actually has me thinking about, like, when does Halloween season start for you guys? Because for me, I'm like, beginning of October. I don't like it starting right now, but maybe you guys feel differently.
I agree with you on the beginning of October. I'm cool with that. All right, October is the season for Halloween, pumpkins, and all that craziness, candy and stuff. But she's like, as soon as the first leaf falls.
August 1st, that was August. Decorate.
Too early. Oh my God.
But no, we literally put up like, and our roommate is actually my best friend from high school too. So we all share a house together. Her and I are on the same page of Halloween, and we literally put up decorations August 1st, like a couple things around the house. Yeah. And we're still slowly getting there. So I'm like, Halloween's like my Christmas. I love it. I think it should be 3 months long. Like, people celebrate Christmas in July. Why can't we celebrate Halloween in August, September, and October?
Like, that's a fair point. Andrew, it seems like you want Halloween to be celebrated earlier too.
Yes, Tiffany for president. What are you talking about? Halloween starts for me the first Friday the 13th before October. So like Friday the 13th is next week. It is Halloween for me.
I would not know anything about policies or anything like that to become president, but I would be really good at making sure it's a national holiday from July until the end of October. That's the only thing I would bring into my campaign. Everything else, I'm like, y'all figure it out on your own. This is all I care about.
Yeah. Because, I mean, Halloween, it's definitely not as expensive as Christmas. But, yeah, I mean, you get to dress up. You get to drink and have a good time at certain parties. You get to eat lots and lots of candy. So, yeah, I think Christmas, we associate it more with, like, oh, my God, how much money do I have to spend? How much gifts do I have to buy? But Halloween does seem to bring out more of the, like, party and character of people.
Yeah. And it's fun, like the stories. Like, I love the lore. I love the mythology and everything. And just having fun. I've just always been drawn to that. And it's funny because I don't believe any of it. So, like, I'm a walking contradiction. I don't believe any of it, but I love reading about it and learning about everything. Like, he can't understand, like, how I watch all these horror movies and everything. And I also grew up, like, Catholic and religious.
Yeah.
I still am. And I still believe in, like, Catholicism and all of that. But I don't believe in any of the spiritual, like, supernatural stuff. But I love reading about it and I love learning it. So I'm like, I'm a walking contradiction at this point. No one gets it.
Hey, no worries about that. I grew up, I think, Baptist Christian, something like that, and I'm no longer that. But I would say, the unfortunate thing is that there are some in the religious community that look at Halloween as sort of like you're worshiping Satan or something like that. And it's possible to believe in your faith and also just think of it as a fun holiday where you can dress up as anything as you want. I mean, there's not too many people dressing up as dark themed things. I mean, there's people that dress up as Elsa from Frozen, for me.
Right.
So,
but for some people that could be worshiping Satan. So you gotta be careful with that one.
yeah. If you're a parent that has your child like playing Frozen songs for like the 25,000th time, that's probably what they think of as Satan.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions for them, Andrew?
I have to know now that you love Halloween. What is your favorite Halloween costume you have ever done?
That's a good one. I don't know. I've had a few. I think when I was a kid, it would have been Daphne from Scooby-Doo. Because it was the first time I got to actually wear like high heel boots and stuff as a child. And it was like I had the wig, I had the purple dress, I had the boots. Like I love that costume. Getting older, either Wonder Woman or what did I do last year? The green thing, the vines.
Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy. Ooh, because I went legit with those costumes. Like I'll spend a little money on those costumes to go legit for it. So I think those would probably be as an adult, but as a kid, definitely Daphne.
Love it. I had a big crush on Daphne from Scooby-Doo when I was a kid.
I feel like
I did.
Yeah.
I'm in the minority there because I didn't have a crush on her, but I was like, damn, she is beautiful. I want her hair.
Oh, yes. I did too as a kid. But I have to say, if I had to pick a favorite of his that I've seen, like in the past couple Halloweens last year, was really cool.
But Red Hood from Batman.
Yeah, he was like
something.
And he got the full, like the real like helmet and everything.
Yeah, Amazon had this light up red full like mask and everything like that, and it lit up.
Wow.
So at night, it was like really cool. I couldn't see a thing, but it looked cool for the photo.
Yeah.
For like 5 minutes. So,
Yeah. And the leather jacket.
Oh, it came with like the whole leather jacket and stuff like that. Originally I wanted to be Batman, but it was like a last minute costume. So everyone in, their friend was Batman and Superman, all the common ones. So I was stuck with Red Hood, but it worked out. Got some weird looks at the bar, but that's okay.
Like, how's he going to drink that?
This dude can't see anything. Like,
Yeah. Oh my God.
If you can't see and you can't function, you've got a good costume there.
Yeah.
Those are like the key indicators.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And just like on this topic real quick, it's funny you brought this up because we'll be bringing up in our podcast here soon. Actually, we're having 2 engagement parties because I'm from Ohio. So we're going to go back to Ohio and have one there. And my mom has set it up. It's actually a Halloween costume engagement party.
Wow.
Yeah.
Creative.
Yeah. So we're like still trying to decide what our costume is.
Yep.
But like, honestly, Batman's up for the running, Batman and Catwoman.
Yep.
Then we also talk about doing like Beetlejuice and Lydia, like they're like trying to get married,
Yeah.
So we don't know yet, but like it's just like a fun throw in there that's happening.
Wait, is that a spoiler from the new movie? I don't think Beetlejuice and Lydia got married in the first movie. So you're talking about the second movie.
No, they tried to get married, remember?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because she has like the red dress on and everything. Like that was the whole issue of the movie.
Yeah.
No spoilers, I swear. No spoilers.
Well, for people who haven't watched the 36-year-old movie, maybe it is a spoiler. Yeah.
Exactly.
Whatever. Statute of limitations has passed on that. But so I was an inflatable ballerina. That's my favorite costume.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was one of those people that didn't put like much thought into my costume. I was like, all right, it's a Saturday night. I got a party. Let me go to Walmart and see what last minute costumes they got because I could probably save some money. And there was like this $20 or $25 inflatable ballerina costume. You put it on, you press a button, and then it just, inflates. So I looked like a 500-pound ballerina. And this spontaneous costume that I just bought last minute at Walmart, it won me the costume contest at this bar party that I went to.
Oh.
Yes, I know. I mean, people were just touching me all night, touching my butt, touching my nipples and everything like that. But it was worth it to win. I think I won like $5 or $10 or whatever it was. But yeah, it was
bad.
Yeah, it was great.
I gotta say, my favorite is what I'm doing this year. I'm going as Dark Phoenix as a boy, and I am so excited. Cannot wait. The costume came. It's gonna be good. The costume came yesterday, and I'm going to try it on today. And I'm like, just fit. That's all I need you to do. Please.
That's a hope.
Oh my gosh.
Now, Dark Phoenix. Who's Dark Phoenix?
So Jean Grey, she gets the Phoenix Force in her. From the style of Dark Phoenix I'm doing, this is when she was in outer space, and the Phoenix Force took over her body, and that's like a separate entity that magnifies her power. And I cannot wait to be here because I love villains. Villains are my favorite things in the world.
Yes.
I just feel like they just have freedom. And I'm like, okay, Dark Phoenix, you're going to be all me.
I love that.
I love it.
Oh my God, that's great. Well, Tiffany and Brandon, it's been so wonderful getting to know you, just from how you met to Tiffany, your journey from being in radio to not being in it anymore, but finding new life in this podcast venture in Virginia there. Can you just remind people who are listening and finding out about you guys for the first time, like how can they find you? What's the name of the podcast? What's it about? Just give that reminder.
Yeah, so the podcast is called BNT Unscripted. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. We're working on the whole social media part, but for now, you can go ahead and follow along with me, Tiffany Kay on Facebook and Instagram. And it's basically just a lifestyle episode. It's going to get deep into relationships, wedding headaches that we're already having, relate to everything from religion to family to animals.
Special guests.
Special guests will be on as well, everyday people with remarkable stories, which we can't wait for. So that's going to be happening. We're going to drop a episode once a week. So you just kind of have to follow along because we don't have a specific day yet. The schedules are crazy. So when we get there,
at least once a week.
Yes. We'll surprise drop it every week at some point.
Understandable. And you know what? That makes it fun. It makes it spontaneous. I like that. I like that. And I can't remember what I was going to say, but yeah.
It'll come to you.
Yeah, it'll come to me at like 7:00 tonight.
Right.
Oh, I think I was just gonna basically say like good luck with the wedding planning again. As someone who went through that last year, I know it can be a lot. And what you will find out is that the day of you'll feel both relief and you will be probably shocked that the day goes by just like that. Like you will wonder, how did we plan and put all this energy and stress and whatnot for this day that just goes by like that. So that's what I will say about that.
Brandon's already ready to get there. We're like over a year out from this wedding, guys. He's already like
I love her to death and I can't wait to marry her and stuff. But I'm like, dude, like all these people, like the wedding planners, like the different shades of red, like,
yeah,
I don't even know what type of tree that is,
Yeah.
like, just let me just marry her,
Yeah.
Just have somebody show up, read us the thing. And,
don't forget about the cake.
yeah, we need the cake.
We need
too.
the cake.
Yes.
The food, so
yeah.
all I care about.
We'll keep you all updated for sure.
Thank you. Well, we plan to listen to the podcast. So
thank you. Hopefully you'll be some of our guests in the future.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're always open to it. That first episode that's already up ate me up. So please, I am excited for the next one.
Thank you so much.
It
means a lot. We were just kind of like throwing it out there to see what happens. So it means a lot.
Hey, you're welcome. Your journey, I hope, is going to be fantastic. I can't wait to talk to you again because I want to know what you learn about yourselves as you go through your podcasting journey.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm excited for that.
Are you guys getting married right over there in Fredericksburg, Virginia?
Yes, we're gonna be getting married in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And we just locked in our venue. That was a whole thing. So it's not even Fredericksburg. Our venue's Richmond, so it's like an hour away. So as I keep saying, like my mom's like, you're having a destination wedding because my family's from Ohio coming here. And I'm having a destination wedding for them, but then we're having a double destination because it's not even near us where we're getting married. So it's a little further. We like to make things complicated. It's fine.
Whatever works for you guys.
It works, so
yeah.
But thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. We appreciate it. We'll keep in touch. We'll let you know when the episode goes up. And enjoy what you guys do with the podcast and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you guys.
Have a good one.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All righty. Well, hey, thank you for joining us when you were able to join us. That was nice.
Yes, that was very, very nice. And it's a nice change in the energy I just had. So I am very happy about it.
Very nice. Do you want to talk about it off the podcast?
Yeah, we can talk about it off the podcast. Y'all need to know my business.
My private business is my private business. So BNT Unscripted, find them wherever you get your podcasts. Brandon and Tiffany, they're awesome people. The Delicious Recap, we are wherever you get your podcasts. Find us on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, TikTok, Reddit, like that's all that stuff. The Delicious Recap. And our Patreon, speaking of which, patreon.com/Delicious Recap. Get episodes like these early and get access to our behind the scenes conversations, usually non-family matter stuff that we just feel comfortable talking about publicly, like politics, whatever. Our experience in Atlanta, it's usually going to be on there, patreon.com/Delicious Recap for just $5 a month. It's fun. You will not regret it.
Yes, you won't regret it. It's fun. Please, the same way I challenged y'all before, share this with 5 people you know. If you think 5 people you know would love a podcast, just share it with them. All you got to do is press the little button in the corner of your screen. Share it. The more you share it, sharing is caring, and it allows us to bring you more content.
You don't care about anything or anyone in the world if you do not share our content. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah, you stomp on rabbits. You like with combat boots on. If you don't share our podcast, you're a rabbit murderer.
Oh my God. I love it. Hey, sign us off in a way that I guess symbolizes how great Brandon and Tiffany were.
BNT are a tasty treat. If you have not listened to that first episode they have out, go listen to it because it's delicious, and that deliciousness reigned for me very truly in my.
Hey guys, it's your good friend George with his good friend Megan, and guess what, everyone? The No Season 2 podcast is back.
Yeah, we are. But don't you think it would have been more appropriate if our podcast about TV shows that only lasted one season only had one season?
Whatever, Megan. Can we get just a little enthusiasm over there?
Fine. How's this? The No Season 2 podcast is back.
Oh, that's so much better.
I know.
Megan, last season we were in high school in Pittsburgh going through all of the feels. But this season, we're going to be kicking ass and taking names in space because we're going to be talking about the space western Firefly.
That's right. So join us every week where we rewatch, reevaluate, and in some cases, well, let's be honest, most cases, relitigate this cult classic from the early aughts.
Strap in, everyone. It's going to be quite the ride.
30 Dirty and Dying is the podcast for flailing millennials by flailing millennials. Every week, 2 sick, sad millennials who just happen to be best friends get together to talk about what it's like hitting the 30 mark and still feeling like you don't quite have your life together.
We're 30-ish, we're dirty-ish, we're dying-ish.
Thinking about the fact that I am 31 years old, I don't want to wake up in the... I don't know how to keep going, and I just started crying a little bit.
When you say, like, oh, I'm so stressed, oh, I'm burnt out, oh, I want to jump into traffic.
Who knows? We're both not well off. We're not well health-wise.
We're just a little unwell.
As a millennial, didn't want to go to the doctors.
No, same. So I'm just like, Every week we go back in time to relive the years of our millennial youth, whether that's cringe posts from the earliest days of social media or all the way back to the 90s to see what was going on in pop culture. Let's talk about 1997. Super crazy. The bubble, Doug.
Like, I'm looking through all of my Facebook statuses right now.
Me too.
I'm only in May.
Yeah.
And I hate myself.
Jeans and low.
And people want those back, and then us millennials are like, keep our high-waisted, please. Please let us have high-waisted jeans.
Millsbury was a community created by General Mills cereal. I mean, there's so many reasons I was a loser in 2010. We're calling it a millennial midlife crisis, heavy on the existential dread. And we're coping with everything we got. Dark humor, nostalgia, real talk about real things, and just trying to have a good time, laughing through the pain, if you will.
So much for my happy ending.
Whoa. Jessica.
Bring it around.
Haunt me, Daddy. 30 Dirty and Dying is available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We have new episodes every 30 Thursday, and you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at 30 Dirty and Dying to keep up with what our millennial midlife crisis looks like next.